Hey guys, I'm Marcus at Shoot It Film and Photography, and the clips you just saw was a few scenes from a shoot I did in December last year for a local glass manufacturer. And in this video I'm gonna walk you through the shoot, show you the gear we used, some behind the scenes footage, and also some examples from the final deliveries. So let's take a look. The assignment was to create sort of a video library that we could edit from later on. This client wanted to improve their presence with video and social media, first and foremost LinkedIn, and also add some new video material to their website. So for the shooting part, we booked half a day and tried to get as much content as possible. And the look and feel we were going for was more of a documentary style than a commercial style, or maybe something in between. And therefore we didn't really need to set up any lighting, but instead use the ambient light in their premises. And this is actually a very convenient way to shoot because it saves so much time compared to when you need to set up lights, light stands, move everything around for every scene, etc. So the plan was more of a run and gun setup to be able to get as much footage as possible from different parts of their factory. So let's take a look at the gear I used. Everything was shot handheld or with a gimbal or with my Mavic 3 Cine drone. And this was actually the first assignment where I used the Mavic 3 Cine, and we're gonna take a closer look at that in a moment. I used both the Canon EOS R5 and the EOS R6 on this assignment, and on the R5 I had the RF 7200 f2.8 most of the time, handheld, and the R6 was mounted on a Zhiyun, however it's pronounced, Crane 3 Lab gimbal with the 15 to 35 f2.8. And having two camera bodies is very time saving, so that you don't have to switch lenses, get the camera on and off the gimbal and so on. Because since we only planned for half a day of shooting, we really needed to be as time efficient as possible. During this shoot, we basically just walked around and shot different scenes from different parts of the glass manufacturing process. All the staff was of course informed that we were gonna shoot during this day. And my plan was to mix it up a little bit with different frame rates so that I could get some scenes in slow motion where this was suitable. So I shot everything on f2.8 and then I mixed the frame rates between 25, 50 and 100 frames per second. And of course the shutter speed and ISO needed to be adjusted depending on the frame rate. And you might know about the overheating issues with the R5 when you're shooting in higher quality settings. But out of experience with this camera, I knew that this was not going to be a problem on this assignment, since I would only shoot shorter clips, maybe 10 to 30 seconds at a time. For these type of assignments, it works pretty well to shoot handheld, even with a 7200, especially if I'm shooting at 100 frames per second, because I know that I'm gonna only be using a very short section of every clip when I'm editing. And with the IBIS and IS, you can get pretty stable footage even when shooting handheld. When we shot scenes where I was walking, I used the R6 on the Crane 3 gimbal because handheld works okay while standing still, but for moving shots, it's gonna be a bit too shaky and it's not gonna look good. So depending on the scene, I just switched between handheld with the R5 and a gimbal mounted R6. And like I mentioned before, this was my very first assignment where I used the Mavic 3 Cine drone, or Flygis as I like to call him. Thanks for the naming suggestion, Caroline. And I gotta say that this guy performed flawlessly. Very stable, no issues whatsoever. It's exactly what I had expected and very much more. I felt very confident right away, and I had everything under control, really stable, no problems at all flying it indoors. And since I went for the Cine version of the Mavic 3, I could shoot everything in log profile and 10-bit ProRes HQ, which is a very nice format to get straight out of a drone of this compact size. So I'm super happy with the Mavic 3 Cine. Editing this material is so much nicer compared to my previous drone, which was a Phantom 4 Advanced that I unfortunately crashed into a tree during another assignment a couple of months ago. But at least that gave me a reason to invest in the Mavic 3 Cine. And the difference in quality and level of details is pretty significant between these drones. So again, super happy with the Mavic 3 Cine. So let's take a closer look at how we filmed and edited a few of the slow motion clips. As you can see here, no big cinema production rig or any kind of stabilization except for IBIS and IS. Just holding the camera steady as possible, using the autofocus with tracking. And this is how that particular clip turned out. You can see the settings in the left corner here. Not sure about the ISO there because you cannot get the EXIF data from these files. And same thing here, trying to hold it as steady as possible and let the IBIS and IS do its thing, following the person that's moving. And we could actually not use this clip because the logo on the back of the shirt is wrong. It's the old one, but the clip turned out pretty good. And like it says, I did not use any LUT here, just manual adjustments in Lumetri color. And don't ask me what this guy is doing with the blowtorch or why, I have no idea. But we wanted to get that flame in slow motion, and I think it worked out pretty well actually. So here we are in Premiere, and I'm just gonna scrub through the timeline of a few of the delivered videos from this assignment. And this first video was made for the website and maybe social media as well, not sure. But anyway, the context was like, come work with us type of thing. So we're just showing a little bit of the premises and the everyday work life at the company. In some of these clips, I have used the C-Log to Rec 709 standard LUT from Canon as a base, sort of. And sometimes I have done all the adjustments from scratch. It depends on the footage because we shot in a variety of different light situations and my exposure was maybe not 100% in all of the shots, and different locations had different color temperatures and so on. So there was no way I could make the same adjustments for every clip. And for this next video, the context was more from an environmental point of view, like sustainability and all that. So the main message here is communicated through text and graphics. And the intro and outro scenes are stock footage that I got from ArtGrid, which, by the way, is my #1 website for stock footage, together with Artlist for music and sound effects. Not sponsored. And you can also see this blue overlay, which is taken from the company graphic profile, the same color code there. It's just a simple color matte that I have put in blend mode overlay so that it blends together with the footage underneath. And then, of course, we used the font that is also specified in the graphic profile. And this was actually a pretty time and cost-effective way to do these videos because we didn't need to record any voiceover, and we also made sure that the message can be communicated without sound, which might be the case quite often in people's social media feeds. So that's a pretty smart detail actually. So nothing fancy about the editing here really, hard cuts all along the timeline, just picking out a few of the scenes that we thought looked good, and then finishing off with the logo and the URL. That is all I had to share for this video. Thank you for watching. If you found it useful and entertaining, feel free to click those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, stay safe, bye!